Hello, friends. I'm Fuzzy Viper Shark, and today I want to know who remembers Killer Instinct, the original 1994 Killer Instinct. This is another game from my childhood that I was playing long before I should have. This game had a revival in 2013 that was not released on the PlayStation, so instead, I'm talking about the SNES version mostly, because the SNES version was out when I was a child, unlike some of you now. Firstly, I want to thank Mike D. Too Cool for creating the guide from which I learned the moves. It really helped in beating the story and appreciating the game more. I have no idea who he is, but Mike D. certainly is too cool. If you don't know, Killer Instinct is a fighting game that is not too unlike Tekken, Mortal Kombat, or Street Fighter, but it's arguably far less popular. It was in arcades across North America in 1994 and was ported to the SNES and Game Boy in 1995. It was actually so well received that it got a sequel called Killer Instinct Gold the following year. While it played like other fighting games, it had its own features to separate it from its competition. Probably the most notable difference between Killer Instinct and its competitors was its double health bar. So each fighter had their own health bar, as in many other fighting games. However, once a life bar is depleted, say Fighter A loses their health, their bar then refills after a brief pause in the bout, and the other fighter, Fighter B, say, keeps their remaining health, and the fight continues as normal until either Fighter A loses all of their health, or Fighter B loses their first health bar, thus the bar refills for B, and A has what remains, and the fight continues to death. I use the term death kind of loosely. Sometimes it's not always death, it's kind of implied, sometimes it's really implied, but that's a story for another day. Because another feature is automatic combos. Are you tired of memorizing lengthy button patterns to embarrass your foe? Well, worry no more with automatic combos. With the push of a single button, your character will deliver a string of hits with ease to your opponent, but these combos don't last for more than a few moves, and don't ask me how to demonstrate anything too complicated, please. Finishing moves in Killer Instinct are similar to the fatalities in Mortal Kombat, where each character has two unique finishers that are typically cinematic and more violent. One danger move, as Killer Instinct calls them, is done at the end of a combo called an ultimate combo, where the opponent has a flashing life bar. This uses a different combination of moves. Another finisher is the humiliation, where the character still has life in their first health bar, but no matter how many times I tried to follow the instructions for the humiliation, I wasn't able to accomplish it. Again, don't ask for anything too complicated from me. The Ultra combo is another finisher that operates like an ultimate combo, but this string of hits surpasses 20 and can reach hit strings far higher than that. Now, how do you defend yourself against all these crazy combos? Well, with combo breakers, of course. Players caught in a combo can break them by performing a breaker move. Apparently, there are 2 points where a combo can be broken: the auto double or linker stage. There are different strengths of breakers, and the breaker has to be stronger than the auto double in order to break it. However, any strength breaker can be used to break a linker stage. I guess this makes longer combos riskier, because after a combo breaker, the breaker can use a special move to counter the combo. Admittedly, I'm not a connoisseur of fighting games. My favorite fighting game, and probably a hot take, is Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which plays a lot differently than the fighting games of old. I never truly grasped the idea of combos, dodges, and blocks until I was older and far removed from ever having played Killer Instinct. Besides, as a dumb little kid, it was so much easier to just button mash against my cousins. Then, when I eventually lost, I was just excited to see the cutscenes of the characters falling off roofs and landing on cars. I was even content watching my older cousins fight each other, because I just like the look of the characters, my favorite being Riptor, because she's a dinosaur, and what kid doesn't like dinosaurs? I didn't even know there was lore to the game until the 2013 reboot came out. I would have played it for nostalgia, but I never owned an Xbox in my life, and I can't justify a $40 price tag for a 10-year-old game that I'd only be playing by myself. So, short of a sale price I find reasonable, I won't be playing the new one anytime soon, I reckon. Thus, an emulation of the SNES version will do perfectly. The story goes, in the beginning, but after a brutal war, two warlords that led their armies into battle continue to fight one another. With the world itself as the prize, neither are willing to give up the fight. Suddenly, a flash of light blinds these warriors, and they vanish from the face of the earth. Sent to Limbo, Armageddon had been averted for now. In the future, pollution weakens the environment, governments no longer exist, and chaos rules. Huge corporations battle one another over the remaining wealth. Ultratech is a powerful megacorporation that sells lesser corporations the weapons they use to fight each other. Sales of the weapons are not their only source of income. Ultratech also organizes a tournament called Killer Instinct, where the winners are promised whatever they desire. People with varying backgrounds enter the tournament alongside experimental creatures created by Ultratech. Along with development of the creatures, technology to bring dimensions was discovered. This released a two-headed Cyclops. Wait, hold on, a two-headed Cyclops. It's got two heads with one eye each, but the creature itself has two eyes, and a Cyclops has one eye, and it's called Idol. 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 I hate puns because I hate that I like them. And I know Riptor is one too, but as a stupid kid, I didn't know it at the time. So, anyway, Eisdal is released from his dimensional prison, and he's the final boss in Killer Instinct. Now, each of the fighters have their own reasons for entering such a deadly tournament, so let's meet them. First, we have Black Orchid, or B Orchid, or Borkid, or just Orchid, is a secret agent for an unknown group to investigate the disappearances that surround the Killer Instinct tournament. Her identity, abilities, and past are all a mystery. However, it is discovered that she is Jago's sister. In her ending, she escapes Ultratech with the information she needs to report back to start the destruction of the corruption. Her stage is titled Chicago Rooftop. For someone that's supposed to be mysterious, I sure know a lot about them. Let's see, she's related to Jago and is from or at least associated with Chicago. This is more than I know about a lot of the other characters. The winner can knock the loser off the high-rise building and onto a vehicle parked below on this stage. Next we have Chief Thunder, or just Thunder. He is a mystical defender of the Native Americans, and too wishes to know about the disappearances, but it's more personal for him. His brother Eagle never returned from last year's tournament. He dual-wields tomahawks, which is pretty cool. Thunder's ending shows him finding out the fate of his brother. He feels that winning the tournament avenged the death of Eagle, and his soul can now rest. Or can it? Because Eagle makes an appearance in Killer Instinct 2013, where it says he was captured and not killed. Thunder's stage in Killer Instinct 1994 goes by a few names: Canyon, Canyon Bridge, or Desert Bridge. It's just a simple wooden bridge that spans the canyon. I remember this one being terrifying to me when I was younger. I don't know why, because I'm not afraid of heights now. The stage doesn't have an exact location, but it can be assumed that it is set in the southwest United States. Next, we have Cinder, whose real name is Ben Ferris. He was a convicted criminal. In exchange for early parole, he agreed to participate in Ultratech's chemical weapons testing. Why would you allow a criminal to participate in that? I don't know what he was doing, but I wouldn't want anyone with more than a parking ticket around chemical weapons. And of course something goes wrong. He gets turned into a flame. The ex-Special Forces turned career criminal was having his DNA spliced with alien DNA? Why? Just why him? He gets his freedom if he beats Glacius in the tournament. But what if he beats Glacius but doesn't win the tournament? What if they never fight each other? Who picked the name Cinder? I know Human Torch was taken, but like Inferno, Blaze, Conflagration. The word cinder means a small piece of partly burned matter. He's fully burned and gives off flames. His ending results in a police force waiting for him outside. He escapes and goes into hiding, probably at a stage, the Desert Rooftop. This is a rooftop for some industrial building in the desert where lava pools around the structure, and this allows players to uppercut their opponent into the lava pools below. And as mentioned previously, we have Glacius, who is an alien made of ice. They have some real creative names for these characters. His spaceship crashed on Earth, and he decided to assimilate with humans, as in, get a regular 9-to-5 at Ultratech, work his way up the corporate ladder, but he's been crushing it in sales, and the people around his cubicle are getting so annoyed with his work ethic. Plus, he always needs to keep the office at negative 40 degrees, and people are just fed up. So, they force him to fight in the tournament and have Cinder beat him, because everyone knows fire is super effective against ice. His ending results in his freedom. Along with stealing some advanced technology, he repairs his ship and goes home. Glacius is cool enough to get 2 stages, Mountain Shrine and Mountain Temple. Alternatively, replace mountain with ice. The shrine is actually located inside the temple, speculated to be somewhere in the Himalayan mountains, and despite being on top of said mountains, characters cannot be knocked off this stage. And now, we have Fulgore, who is the resident cyborg of the bunch and the cover character. Developed by Ultratech, it entered the tournament as a final test of its combat abilities. It is equipped with 2 plasma blades on its forearms that are not too unlike Wolverine's. Being a cyborg, it is part human, with the origin of the parts rumored to have come from an organ harvesting operation in Moscow. At the end of the tournament, successful testing leads to the mass production of the machines, which leads to an entire empire controlled by Ultratech. The Mark I is shut down and placed in a museum for the remaining slave population to see. Fulgore's stage takes place in a factory. Industrial Warehouse is the name, and Slaughtering You is the game. Presumably Ultratech's headquarters, this stage takes place on a graded bridge with heavy machinery in the background. Another stage where you cannot fall off, so OSHA approves. Jago is a mysterious warrior from Tibet and the sibling of Borkid. The main protagonist of the series is guided by a tiger spirit to seek his destiny. This has led to the Killer Instinct tournament to destroy the evil within. He was abandoned as a baby at a Himalayan monastery and taken care of by the monks of the Tiger. He showed great promise and quickly caught the eye of the order. The tiger spirit visits him as he meditates and grants him great powers. He defeats the evil at Ultratech and returns to his shrine to continue to fulfill his destiny as he strives for self-improvement. His stage takes place at the Tiger Shrine inside the temple where he worships. Next is Saberwolf, who is just some rich dude from Europe that has a rare disease, Argyria. That's a joke, it's lycanthropy. Konrad von Saberwolf, he's German, enters the tournament on the promise of being given a cure by Ultratech. He was bit by a wolf that gave him the disease. Since then, he has lived in exile, struggling with his affliction. In victory, he is finally cured, and he returns to his normal life of being a rich dude. His stage, or castle rather, is furnished with a roaring fire, chandeliers, and various artifacts, which makes so much sense because I never understood as a kid why a wolf was in a castle. Moving on to Spinal's story, his origin is a secret only known by Ultratech. Special techniques in cell regeneration have allowed them to revive this ancient, and I'm using this term loosely, warrior. He's a pirate skeleton. He has only vague memories of his past, all of which are knowing how to fight, so I guess he doesn't have to do anything else, so why not? He's 5.5 feet tall and weighs 120 pounds? He's just a skeleton. What is a skeleton made out of? Iron?
Okay, healthy BMI of a 5'5" person, let's see, about 130 pounds, and then percentage of human mass of skeletons, about 14%, so 14% of 130 pounds is 18.2 pounds. Let me change 18.2 pounds to grams, and you got about 82.55 grams, and then you divide that by the average density of bone, which is within this range. We'll just say 1.2 grams, and then that gives you about 6880 cubic centimeters. That's about the average volume of a human skeleton at 5'5", and then you take 120 pounds, which is the weight of Spinal. That to grams is 54,431 grams, and then you divide that by the volume of the skeleton to get his density, and you got that density, and then the density of iron.
It's made of iron! Spinal has a cutlass and shield because he's a pirate and wears a cute headband. This maniac suffers from first child syndrome in that he was cool when he was the only creation, but not with newer creations like Fulgore and Riptor. He resents his existence. His ending verbatim is, tired of constantly being surrounded by death and destruction, Spinal decides on a career break. Although nominated for an Oscar for his first film, Spinal still has great difficulty finding roles that have meat to them. That have meat to them. He's an actor. That's interesting. I did not see that coming. His stage better be a movie set. It is not a movie set. Shipwreck Shore is somewhere in the Caribbean, but it really doesn't look like it. The second to last quote-unquote playable character is TJ Combo. He was an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world for 5 years straight. However, he was stripped of his title for his brutal methods of punishing opponents after it was discovered that he had illegally cybernetically enhanced his arms. How How do you do that secretly? Like, that couldn't have been quick. What was the recovery time for something like that? And why wouldn't you just use steroids or something? Like, it never says he's a boxer, but it just heavily implies it. He's in the tournament to regain his fame and fortune, but who would care if he wins? He's basically already cheating. The other humans that didn't have an accident involving chemicals are just regular humans. He's basically on the same level as Fulgore. Are his arms better than Fulgore's? How much did the Ultratech surgeon make for selling this story to the media? Who is still a fan of TJ after this scandal? If he ends up winning, he returns to glory and parades around the same streets he once did. Can you guess what his stage is? It's a boxing gym! This is said to also take place in Chicago. Oddly enough, fights here do not take place in the boxing ring. And finally, we have the last and best, and my favorite, Riptor, a product of Ultratech's deoxyribonucleic acid manipulation. Riptor is a combination of human and reptilian genes. The combination of human intelligence and animal ferocity should prove successful if the tournament is won, and thus would lead to more being made. Riptor is canonically female, and if she wins, dinosaurs rule the earth again, because the idea of dinosaurs taking over the world was a huge seller in the early to mid 90s. Her stage is the altar and has no presumed location. Now, Idol is a playable character in Killer Instinct 1994 through a built-in cheat code. On the SNES, you have to select Cinder, hold right. Once the Versus screen appears, press LRXBYA, and then you'll hear the announcer say Idol. Idol is Ultratech's trump card for this year's Killer Instinct tournament, where the winner must fight them to win. His stage takes place beneath the industrial warehouse, and I vaguely remember this one as a kid. The lava that can be seen always made me think that it was Cinder's stage, but shows what I know. You can knock your opponents off into the lava here as well. Now, a cool feature that the SNES version offered was 16 audio tracks that were also released through Nintendo Power's Super Power Supply's mail order service in both CD and cassette form. The album Killer Cuts can be listened to on YouTube and Spotify. Overall, the game was rated 140th out of Nintendo's top 200 games list. Screw Attack listed it as the 5th best fighting game of all time, behind Street Fighter III, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Melee, and Mortal Kombat 2. Killer Instinct doesn't even come up when you search 2D or 3D fighting games. Like, just look at these Wikipedia pages. Every rendition of the game has been loved by fans, which makes it something of a cult classic. However, whether it was being overshadowed by more mainstream or controversial games, or just another game in a saturated market, the differences that Killer Instinct brought wasn't enough to get it the same attention as others. I think the characters are more appealing for being original designs over other fighting games. There's a wide range of backstory, and they each are unique enough to be memorable to me. The mix of regular humans, human hybrids to differing degrees, and aliens are what sets this game apart along with its features mentioned. Yet, with Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, characters are all more or less humans or gods, which some have to be immortal, there's no way, and in a game called Mortal Kombat no less. Tekken goes hard with its characters and has an enormous roster. It's not a bad thing, but I think there are too many. How much different can you get with almost 90 characters? But that's just my hot take. I don't know anything. All in all, Killer Instinct was in the right place at the right time to make memories I wouldn't soon forget. And if you made it this far, I can't thank you enough for watching. Please leave me a like, and I will see you later. Peace.